Well, most of us are familiar with the popular Netflix series House of Cards. The show is about politics at every level. Kevin Spacey plays Frank Underwood as president, Robin Wright as First Lady and now United Nations ambassador. Of course, the show is fictitious, but it attempts to showcase real-life policies and political events happening today. So it made me think the other night watching, could some of President Underwood's ideas ever happen in real life? Should they? In one of the first episodes this season, Underwood takes on entitlements, telling the American people, quote, "Entitlements are killing the nation. You are entitled to nothing. No handouts." Here to analyze are two House of Cards fans, Tony Sayegh, Fox News contributor, and Bernard Whitman, former pollster for Bill Clinton and the CEO of Whitman Insight Strategies. All right, so I know you guys both watched the show as well.
Sure.
Should the fictitious things that are happening this season, like getting rid of entitlements and telling the American people the truth, should that happen in real life?
Well, let's be clear. Securing entitlements and reforming them is the only way to preserve them for future generations, which actually, Gretchen, is a consensus bipartisan position in Washington that's been stymied by about 100 progressive elected officials on the Democrat side for the last 5 years. Don't forget, it was the Simpson-Bowles Commission. Erskine Bowles, former Clinton chief of staff, part of that whole dynamic that came out with the important reforms to entitlements, which represent 2/3 of our federal budget, where the money is,
right.
To cut them back in a way that preserves them for future generations but still gives services now. So in that respect, I think it was a good idea. What a clever focus group, by the way, to obviously get people to know this idea through the House of Cards and potentially accept it more during a real situation.
Now I know that you're not going to like the entitlement idea, or are you, Bernard?
Actually, the truth is, Frank Underwood, like most good politicians, has kernels of great ideas, but unfortunately, his ego and mania warp them until when they become manifest through these absurd farces. In terms of entitlement reform, I actually have been a huge supporter of entitlement reform for years. I think that we should increase the Social Security retirement age to 67.
Okay.
But I think where Frank does himself a disservice is to suggest that people aren't entitled to anything. In fact, the American people have paid into Social Security. They deserve to get something out.
I don't think he said they weren't entitled to anything. But anyway, he also said one of the big things was that we should tell the American people the truth. Will that ever happen?
Well, in all fairness, again, Frank Underwood also, I think, in one of the later episodes says, imagine what the American people would say if we actually started telling you the truth. Obviously, this is a guy who talks out of both sides of the mouth. I'm following my lead from you, Bernard. But my point being that, look, it's very clever. He's a shrewd politician. They obviously over-exaggerate the kind of back-channel tactics. And I do obviously wish we would get to a point in our government where there's transparency. The aspect I think that this show shows us that I wish we had in reality is there's actually people who oppose the president when he does something stupid in a bipartisan way. Don't forget, in these episodes, Republicans and Democrats in Congress are fighting this president.
Will we ever have politicians that we believe are telling us the truth?
Well, I think the politicians, in large part, do tell us the truth, in fact. And if you actually study presidential promises, most of the presidential promises are kept. The problem is sometimes it's very difficult to promise transparency and then deliver on it. We've got national security issues. We have defense issues. Sometimes you can't always deliver on that transparency that we all
especially when you're Hillary Clinton.
We've watched that especially recently. Okay, guys, thank you so much, and thanks for watching the show and talking about it.